guys, what's up? So, the do's and don'ts of the Army Drill Sergeant. Stick around.
Your information, the position of attention, you don't move! Do you understand? Yes, Drill Sergeant! Off the ground! Sergeant! Get your knees off the ground! Yes, get him up, put him down! Yes, Drill Sergeant! Let's go, Private! Let's go! Wrap your arms, keeper! Take a... That's the door. Go.
Alright guys, what's up? 3rd of July, and today on Fort Leonard Wood, 14th MP Brigade, we just had our Pig Bowl 2018, hanging out with my boy Hanson. Oh yeah. Smith. So what a great time with that. And I've been really busy with this film project I'm working on. And this film project is going to be a documentary, and with all the filters and overlays and editing and music and sound, and just covering a topic in the Army that we don't really talk about that much. I think it's going to be a really good hit. And so just be looking forward for that video probably within the next 2.5-3 weeks. But right now we're going to talk about the do's and don'ts of an Army Drill Sergeant, and this is in response to one of the comments posted on one of my previous videos by a subscriber named Israel Morales, and he says, can you make a video of do's and don'ts of a drill sergeant? Like, I know you can't punch a private in the face, obviously, but what are lesser known things of what not to do? So I think that would be a great video, so we'll cover that right now. And the stuff that we're going to talk about is from my experience on the trail that I've either witnessed or I just heard about from other trails and other units that, you know, they did something stupid and got taken off the trail or they were under investigation. So first off, I want you to understand that when you get your orders and you go to the Drill Sergeant Academy and you graduate the academy, you're going to get your orders for your follow-on assignment, right? Whether it's Fort Jackson, Fort Sill, Fort Leonard Wood, I think that's it. I know right now there's a lot of drills going to AITs, but I can't really think of any right now, like Fort Gordon or Fort Lee or whatever. But so you'll get your orders to go to your duty station to conduct your drill sergeant duty, which is between 2 to 3 years. Now think of it this way: 2 to 3 years, you're on probation. Like those 2 to 3 years, you are in the drill sergeant program. You're still in the program, meaning that you could do something that you will lose your hat and badge. And when you go to the academy, you may hear that a lot. Like, don't do this because you'll lose your hat and badge. But when I went to the schoolhouse, I heard that a lot, but I didn't really understand what they meant. So you're in the program, and that's what it means. So technically, you're not a real drill sergeant until you're done with your duty, and you can just keep your patch and take your hat and just, put it in the closet somewhere. But I want you to understand that. Cherry Dr. Pepper.
So good.
Alright, so let's get started with the do's and don'ts. And one important thing that I want you to know that you have at your disposal is TRADOC Regulation 350-6. So what is TRADOC Regulation 350-6? So this is the guidelines and administration for the trainees and also for you. So this not only protects the trainees, but it also protects you as well. And you're going to see that this regulation will cover things like how much sleep they're supposed to get, tattoos. It covers sexual harassment. It talks about like their battle buddy system, the treatment of trainees. It talks about trainee abuse. It talks about corrective training, remedial training, and it's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of sets the whole atmosphere and guidelines while they're there. Because while they're in trainee, they have rules and they're treated a certain way. But when they graduate and go to their duty stations, and we all know it's just they're just something different. Okay, and you'll see that some of the stuff in 350-6 can be in a gray area. Like for an example, let's look up profanity, right? So Control F. I love Control F. You better know what Control F is. Oh my God. So Control F and type in profanity. Now let's go down to 2-5, right? And this is a gray area, so just kind of follow along with me, right? So this talks about training abuse and prohibited practices, right? This is for you, okay? So examples include extreme exercise-based corrective action not in accordance with PRT, demeaning or derogatory language, extreme profanity. Bam, let's stop right there. Extreme profanity, right? This is a gray area. So what constitutes as extreme profanity? Like how many words? How many words is it like? Is it like 2 words in every sentence? So it's kind of one of those gray areas. But you know they're kind of expecting you to use your best judgment on some of this stuff that's left out there. But that's just kind of one of the gray areas. And for something like that, if you're not sure, I would get with another drill sergeant and say, hey, what does it mean by extreme profanity? And then, we'll see where it goes from there. Maybe they'll clear it up. So now you have 350-6 in your tool bag, your toolkit. So let's talk about the first don't, right? So the first don't, we'll just talk about physical contact because it was already in the comment, punching the private in the face. All right. So yes, the first don't is you cannot punch the private in the face. Right. There's no physical contact. You can't hit him at all. Now this is kind of in the gray area as well because you can't have physical contact. Like there's ways that there has to be physical contact. An example would be like during PRT. You got the PT instructor. The PT instructor doesn't have time to make on-the-spot corrections. That's what the AIs are for, the assistant instructors. They're walking around. If you have to put your hands on a trainee because they're doing something, because they're not doing the exercise correctly, you got to tell them, hey, private such and such, I'm going to put my hands on you because you're not doing this exercise correctly and you're not following the instructions. You're not grasping the concept, right? So you got to kind of let them know. There's other situations that you're going to have to put your hands on them, like hand grenades when you're in the bunker with them, right? They may freak out or be nervous, so you're going to have to take the hand grenades and physically remove the guy out the bunker, like go away. Another common time would probably be BRM, right? On the range. They're on the range with live ammo, right? And as a drill sergeant, you got that built-in radar where you can spot a weapon on semi when it's supposed to be on safe, like a mile away. They're flagging everybody, and you got to go hands on and show them stuff, right? And it's just, bottom line is you can't hit them, all right? So That's one out the way. All right, so the next thing we'll talk about is a do. So if you do have to administer corrective action as a drill sergeant, or what I like to call it as tune-up sessions, you do want to make sure that you are within the guidelines of 350-6. And to understand that, you go to table 5-1. You can see there's a little chart for you, and it tells you what phase, what exercise, and how many reps you can administer corrective action. And it kind of breaks it down even more in the notes of what you can do. And again, this is something not just to protect the trainees, but to protect you, okay? And the bottom line is you want to give something for PR that's from the PRT, and it's something you're not making up. And you know, and just keep this in mind that most of these trainees that are coming in, they didn't exercise before they get there, and when you're looking at it, you're saying like 10 push-ups. Are you kidding me? Like for you, yeah, you're probably like a PT stud, been in the Army for a while, but for them, this could be like, you know, oh my God, like I'm dying. But anyway, just keep that in mind. All right, so now back to a don't. Don't tell a trainee they can't go to sick hall. All right, this is the one you're gonna get so frustrated because they're gonna think it's the end of the world for them because they got a toothache or a blister, and instead of just putting a band-aid on it or putting like Neosporin, they want to go to sick call. And they're going to go to sick call and they're going to miss training for like 4 to 5 hours, right? So they come up to you and they say those magic irritating words, drill sergeant, I like to go to sick call tomorrow. And you know, it's like it's one of those things where you're gonna ask a question and dig more into it, like, "What's wrong, Private?" And they're gonna say something like, my hair hurts" or something, and you're just like, "Okay, whatever." Um, and so many of them will want to go, and it just gets irritating. And when they do miss training, you're gonna have to figure out how to make it up, how to get them to make it up. Like there's certain things they can't miss. Like they have to go to the gas chamber. They have to throw hand grenades in order to graduate. They have to come down Warrior Tower. Like they have to do those things in order to meet the graduation requirements, right? Like those are days that you would kind of encourage the trainees. Today's not the day to go to sick call, Private. Like let's do this, and then I'll take you later on, right? But don't tell them no, you can't go. All right, so now let's go to a do. Do make sure that they're using the Battle Buddy system, okay? So within that first 72 hours of their integration period, right? You should get them all together, get a 4856, and counsel all of them on the Battle Buddy system, right? And this is something that'll teach them, to teach them about teamwork, have a sense of responsibility and accountability for, fellow soldiers, and, just not being by themselves, right? So do make sure that they are using that Battle Buddy system, right? They are not to be alone at any time. Don't take any gifts from the trainees, and don't buy them gifts, right? Now don't get that confused with like it's fine if you have to give the trainees like pens, paper, the little green memo books that you put right here, the whole ACE cards and all that. Like you can give them stuff like that, but you can't like go and buy them stuff from the PX or whatever, and then just exchange gifts with each other. So don't do that. Do go over training with the trainees that night prior before training happens. An example would be, let's just say tomorrow they got Warrior Tower. So tonight, what you should do is uh, go to Warrior Tower and go assign for some ropes, and then just go in the bay and teach the privates how to tie a switch seat. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but that's what you should be doing for the next 2 years, just staying late and helping. And then if you do stuff like that for the night prior, you'll see that the next day it'll go way more smooth, right? Less headaches. So do go over training with them that night prior or a couple of days prior or whatever. So it'll kind of give them a head start. Don't break their stuff. If you find a wall locker unsecure and you want to conduct Baynado, and you're going through their stuff, don't break their stuff. Like me, I wasn't really a fan of the whole tearing up all the wall lockers, but and it was for that reason, because you could be breaking their stuff. So don't break their stuff if you happen to find an unsecure wall locker. Another good do is, before lights out, go into the bay and have them do some practice working on their push-ups and sit-ups. And it's not like a corrective action kind of thing. It's just explain to them that, hey, you got your PT test coming up, and this is something that I want you guys to do on your own before lights out, so you can not worry about failing your PT test, right? And they can pull out that little green PT mat that they get issued, and then just their battle buddy can hold their feet, and they'll do a couple sit-ups and a couple push-ups. So I do kind of have them do that. All right, so the next don't play favorites, right? And you will have favorites, and don't let them know who they are. But don't give them any kind of special treatment. Like, don't give them like extra phone time, or like don't give them like snacks or something. Don't do that, right? Because you just want to treat them all the same. That's it. All right, so and this will be the last thing we talk about. So do have that moment with the trainees that you take your hat off. And this is a time, and what's important is the timing for this. And the time is right before they graduate, whether it's just BCT or all the way down at OSUT, right? And what that means is, you put them in the classroom or put them in the bay, and you take your hat off, and you let them ask you questions about the Army, because they got a whole bunch of questions they want to ask, right? They may want to know how's airborne school or air assault school, or how's combat, or they may want to know how Fort Hood is like, or they'll ask you, do you like being a drill sergeant? I love that question, like, oh my God. But they'll ask you all kinds of questions, right? And just let them know that, hey, privates, this is your only time that you can ask me any kind of questions you want about the Army. But then that's it. After today, not gonna happen. So, but just have that moment where you take your hat off. And I want to say that, and that's gonna pretty much wrap up this video. And I can't think of any more don't. It'll be a real quick video. If you have an idea for another video, just put in the comments below, and when I get time, I'll get to it. But other than that, tomorrow is the 4th of July, so happy 4th to everybody. And guys, I will see you later.